Hi, welcome back to 1834 Restoration House. We're still looking for a grand house to restore, but in the meantime, we have another kind of video for you we think you'll really enjoy. It's along the same lines. A few years ago, we went on a multi-state ghost town tour, and there were some old houses in that. And we would put up a poll last week to see if you would want to see that. And it was very positive, yes, you wanted to see it. So we're going to share that with you. And it was filmed in Bannnack, Montana. Here it is in its original unedited format.
I don't know, I'm scared to death to move.
There's something very interesting at the top of these stairs.
But I can't move. I'm scared.
Welcome back to part 3 of the Great Western Ghost Town Tour. We've been driving all day, and now we're coming to you from the middle of Montana at Bannock State Park. This is a true ghost town in that nobody actually lives here and it's been abandoned for a long time. The state took it over and maintains it as a state park, and visitors can come and walk around, and everything is in kind of a state of decay as it was when they left it. So let's go take a look. Out here in the western states, there are lots of ghost towns that claim to be ghost towns, but they may be more of a tourist attraction. This one here is the real deal, folks. Let's go inside and start checking these out.
Wonder if this was the kitchen. Look at that ceiling. What was back here? Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, definitely. Back here is the Turner House, which served as a residence for the Turner family. It also served as a post office, a barber shop, and had the only telephone in town for quite a number of years. For the most part, these frontier houses were built of lumber. Take a look at the siding here. This is lap siding, and somebody who had money and the means might have a house built of lap siding. But if you look over here, this one here is more rustic, and that one's built of logs, which are hand carved with an axe to make them square. They're stacked on top of each other, and then the gaps are filled with some kind of a chinking material. This building was the town's assay office, and the gold miners would bring their gold in here and have it weighed, and they would get paid for it, and then they would purify it. Now, the gold that came through here was some of the highest purity gold around. This building was also a stagecoach stop, and it served as a butcher shop. These are vinegar barrels.
There's a whole lot of vinegar.
And look at this old case here. It says, display equipment, clean foods, attractively displayed.
This was a drugstore, an assay office, and a school when the school was in disrepair. Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here.
So these buildings were used for a long time, over many decades, and people would come and people go. They keep changing things. Take a look at the floor here. We have a nice yellow and white diamond pattern. We have blue. We have wood grain, and we have green.
It's quite sizable. This is a chemist.
It's still in it. It was a general store and a pharmacy.
Bannock was founded, I should say, in 1862 by John White. He came out here and he discovered gold. This is the first major gold rush here in Montana. And eventually, by the next year, there's 3,000 to 5,000 people that show up here. So the town is a boom town. The next year, though, we're back down to about 300 to 500 people. So the town collapsed. They find gold over in Virginia City, and everyone kind of flees over there for the nice, easy gold. But after that, the town kind of stays at about 500 people up until all the way through 1941. In 1941, they shut down all non-essential mining in the United States for World War II. And the town starts to kind of shrink and contract at that point. And by the 1950s, some of the buildings are starting to get bought up by the local county museum society, and eventually they pass it on to the state. And by the 1970s, no one's really living here anymore. And it's really truly a ghost town at that point. And right now the state, Montana State Parks, preserves this site, trying to keep it standing. We have a policy of arrested decay, meaning we try to make sure that the water stays out. We do a lot of roofing projects and stuff, and we try to keep it available for people to enjoy here all over the place.
Way out here in the middle of Montana, they didn't really need to do anything to pretty these buildings up, but look at some of the architectural details that they have here.
This spot was the county courthouse as well as the Hotel Meade. That's a pretty good sized hole. See in there? And step up.
It's dark in here.
Now that's a stove you could do Thanksgiving meal with. Oh yeah.
This is the more modern version of that one. Pancakes and eggs.
Gas.
Yeah, it is. Pancakes, eggs, and that. This is the same building we're in right now.
All of these rooms have these transit windows. It's pretty cool. And over there you can see where the pipe used to go by the grill for the stove.
Man, is it hot out here today. Got a little bit of a thirst. I think I'll go visit the saloon over here.
Thank God there's a bartender in here.
Yeah, whiskey.
I'm looking for a drink.
All right, set him up, buddy.
Oh, yeah!
Maybe not bartender.
What a beautiful bar.
What a
This
beautiful
was a saloon and also a store place.
Oh,
Saloon and
twice. 2 different times the bar and 2 different times the store.
Yeah, according to the book there, the proprietor here was involved in criminal gangs. And they finally
Fun.
picked him up and took him out here.
Up to that place up there, the gallows.
Probably had some brawls in here.
I bet they did even when they had the best of
There's
times.
probably holes in the wall
Card games and cigars.
from bullets.
Pretty bar.
Didn't you? Oh, the bar is fantastic.
It's not much to the back of it, but the front of it.
Yeah. That's what
Oh,
made it.
this was Plummer's place, the notorious leader of.
Back before we had Model T pickups, we had another way of getting around, which wasn't quite as fast, but worked pretty well, as long as you kept the horses fed.
There's an old stove in here. Either it was bad carpentry, creeping, a sense of humor, or just trying to get more shade.
Do you want to move so maybe it'll come out here?
We just found a bird flying around inside.
Yes?
The houses that we just looked at were bachelor houses, which were houses that young men would have lived in, or single men, maybe old men, who knows, but they definitely didn't have families. Now, a man with a family would be more likely to have a house like this one here. Let's go take a look. This beautiful home right here was known as the Graves house. Mr. Graves was an engineer who invented the first electric dredge, and after doing so he received all kinds of awards for his amazing invention. But this was the first timber-framed house built in town. Rather than being built with logs, it was built with lumber. And it has all kinds of interesting features like gutters and downspouts, shutters on the windows, and a full porch with posts.
Let's go see where Mr. Graves lives.
Welcome home. This is pretty opulent for the day.
Very spacious too.
Wow.
Plaster walls, ceiling on the medallion, the medallion on the ceiling.
That's where the stove would have been. You can see a little bit of a hole up there in this chimney.
Dark in there.
I would think this would be the maid's room.
You think they had a maid?
Well, don't know what else it would be for. It's right next to the kitchen and the dining room. That's usually where you put the maid.
I'd like to point out that all the rooms in this house have tall ceilings, maybe, I don't know, maybe 15 feet tall. And it's a rabbit warren of rooms. It just keeps going. Notice the wallpaper everywhere. That was a sign that the family had some money. And quite possibly a lot of children too, from the looks of things. What's this?
Closet.
Oh yeah, I see the ghost of a door in there.
Yeah.
This truly was the Wild West. There were some really rough and bad men who lived in this part of the country, but not everybody was that way. And just to prove that, right behind me here is the Methodist Church. In a town of many ironies, you'll find that right next door is the bootlegger's cabin. We're inside another house. There's one feature I'd like to point out here. These are logs that were chopped with axes by hand to make them flat. That way they stack better and they provide a nicer finish on the interior.
This side looks more modern. Ceiling's falling down.
Everything's purple in here.
Yeah. Mixture?
This is a very old linoleum floor.
Yeah.
This is big enough to have a hoedown.
Yeah, it is. Well, look, you can see where the wood stovepipe went through. Two of them.
Bannock State Park, the town of Bannock, is a site of some of the very first vigilante activity here in Montana. They hang 4 men in 48 hours, 3 of them being law enforcement. The sheriff and his 2 deputies are hanged here. And the last man is named Joe Conzanthia. They are rumored to be the leaders and of the stagecoach robbery gang that's going through the area, and the local townspeople, a lot of community leaders, a lot of local Masons decided they had enough of these stagecoach robberies, and they hunted down these 4 men here, and then they later go on to hang about 100, a little over 100 people throughout the rest of Montana, try to stop robberies and other nefarious activities in the area.
Wow, interesting. So the sheriff was kind of working both sides.
Yes, he was. He had a nice side gig.
Yeah. And I have to say, we've been through a lot of the buildings here, and they're amazing. They're even though they're in the state of arrested decay, they're actually in very good condition, a lot of them. So you definitely want to come out here and check this out. Several years ago, we had a chicken coop, and we raised about 26 chickens for their eggs and their meat. But when we got here, we realized that that's what this is too. Out on the frontier, having chickens was great because it was free food.
The warmer oven. Oh, it doesn't quite go down all the way. There we go.
We get dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Definitely a jail.
Look at the shape of these nails. They're squared. These are original nails. See the impression from them walking on it so much as well. Even this door is solidly made. There are nails literally all over on this side. Nails all over the ceiling too. There's another jail. This one's smaller though. Door is heavier. Oh, look at these. Major chains. I guess this is where the bad criminals went. Like maybe the sheriff ended up. At first this was a blacksmith shop. Later it became the Gibson family home. But there's evidence of the blacksmith shop. Come on, let me show you. You can see different brands that were tested before they were sold to the actual owners. In 1862, this was the Montana Hotel. In 1890, the Gibsons acquired it and continued using it as a rooming house. Let's check it out. This will be the dining room. In here, it appears is the kitchen. Look at that old stove. My lands. Does it open? Oh, it does. The warming oven. It keeps the breads or the soup or the rolls or anything you wanted to keep warm. Oh, there's the front door. And we can go up the stairs. There's something very interesting up here. Okay, we've shown you some of the buildings that are here. There are a lot more here. There's some very fascinating places to see. This one is also fascinating, but you're gonna have to come here to see the rest, including this part. But you can see the bars already. There's a teaser. Come and see it for yourself. It's a fantastic place.
We've talked about how these communities were built by people who had money and people who didn't have money. Some of the people who didn't have money might have just thrown together a few logs or boards and put a roof over it and called it a house. Others were more elaborate, like the Graves house. This one here behind me is interesting because it looks like a brick house. And often what would happen over time is people would buy these houses from the original owners and they would try to fix them up a lot and make them look fancy. Like that one there has scalloping near the roof line and it has the bricks. Now, those bricks are not real. That's actually a tar paper that's made to look like brick.
Hey, look at this. They used to make clothes out of flour sacks and sugar sacks, potato sacks, whatever kind of large stuff they could get. This looks like it's actually a dress. Sometimes they'd make aprons or dress shirts or pants, whatever they could make out of them. Bannock started out in the 1860s. Now, people lived here up until the 1970s. Some of the houses, as you can see, they were original houses. But as time went, they kind of modernized them, and you can tell if you look up, that's definitely not an 1860s any kind of style. Very uneven floor, be careful. Wow, look at that old wallpaper. How old do you think it is?
1940s, 50s?
Nope, earlier than that.
You ever seen so much wallpaper?
Not so many different kinds in one area.
And the floor. There's a great view out the back too. Whoa! I don't think anybody's going in there. This wraps up our tour of Bannock State Park in Montana. Now, we've only showed you just a few things here. There's a whole lot more to see. We recommend you plan on spending an entire day here because you can. Make sure you bring some food and water and dress for hot weather if you're coming here in the summertime. That concludes this tour. Tomorrow, we're going to go visit Virginia City and Nevada City.